Show Me a Sign, written by Anne Claire Lizotte, takes place in 1805 on Martha's Vineyard, so right in our neck of the woods. So it's about Mary Lambert, who is 11, and very much into storytelling and making up stories, and very much not into doing housework or learning to take care of the chores that are expected of women. So that makes it a little hard for her, given the time period. Mary and her father are both deaf. Her mother and brother both hearing. And in their community on Martha's Vineyard, 1 out of every 4 people is deaf. And so it's not entirely clear to anyone how this came to be. Although Ezra Brewer, the old seaman, tells a story that says from the very beginning, when the Englishmen first came to the island, they included one of Mary's ancestors who was deaf, and it grew from there. Mary is also struggling with the relationships on the island between the English settlers and the Native Americans who are there, who are the Wampanoag, since this is in our neck of the woods, and is really unhappy with the way the Wampanoag are looked down upon and not treated as equal. And into all of this, a young man comes from the mainland who is a scientist and says he is there to study the population and figure out how they came to be so many deaf people, and sort of how to cure them and make their life better. And he clearly very much looks down upon the deaf people. When he comes to Mary's house, he only talks to Mary's mother, not to her father. Mary and her parents are trying to recover from the very recent death of her older brother, who was killed trying to push Mary out of the way of wagon and horses coming through, and that has made also life very difficult at home. And so when the young scientist kidnaps Mary to take her back as a live specimen to the mainland, she's concerned that maybe no one will come after her. So this is Show Me a Sign. The Secret Deep by Lindsay Galvin takes place just after the death of Aster, who's 13, and Poppy, who's 11's mom, from cancer. They are sent from England to Australia to live with their aunt. When they arrive and join their aunt, she takes them to this eco-village that is her current work site, that is inhabited by teens who seem to come from all over the world. Aster and Poppy are not entirely happy to be there, but sort of go along with life there until things get weird. Another scientist comes by and has a really bad argument with their aunt. They can only make out a little bit of what's going on. And then their aunt gives them an injection that she says is just one of their usual shocks, but then they get a high fever afterwards. And just after they have recovered, their aunt takes them and all of the teens in the village out snorkeling. That is the last thing that Aster can remember until she wakes up on what seems to be a deserted island wearing a wetsuit, hooked up with all kinds of tubing that seems to be connected through IV to her body. And she has no idea how she got there or where anyone else is. And all she wants to do is figure out how to find her sister, Poppy. Far Away, written by Lisa Graff, has written some other great books that you might have read, including Absolutely Almost, Double Dog Dare. So this is about CJ, who lives with her Aunt Nick, because her mom died when she was a baby, but that's not been a problem because she has always been able to communicate with her mom thanks to Aunt Nick, who is a medium who travels the country to help loved ones communicate with their family who has already passed away. But on CJ's 12th birthday, Aunt Nick says to her that her mother is being drawn far away and will no longer be able to communicate with her. CJ doesn't see any reason why that should stop her. After all, she already knows at the age of 12 how to drive stick shift. She's the one who navigates for her aunt as they travel across the 48 continental states. And so she decides that along with Jax, a friend who has recently joined helping out his uncle who works on the show for her aunt, to steal a car and go find the anchor they need to keep her mom attached to this world and prevent her from going far away.
First book I want to chat with you about is called A Wolf Called Wander. I have a brother, Sharp, bigger than me and all growl. I have sisters, Pounce, who loves to wrestle, and Wag, who wags with her tail. And best of all, my brother, Warm, who likes to curl up under my chin, the only pup smaller than me. Swift, a wild wolf cub, lives with his pack in the mountains. When a rival pack attacks, Swift and his family scatter, and Swift sets out on an incredible journey through dense forests, into barren wilderness, and across flowing water. The trip is dangerous and full of peril, and Swift encounters fire, hunger, hunters, and highways as he wanders. Will Swift find the courage to survive? Will he ever find a place to call home? This book is based on the extraordinary true story of a wolf named OR7, and often called Journey, a wild wolf who traveled a remarkable 1,000 miles across the Pacific Northwest. In other words, if you are totally into animals and natural history, this is the book for you. I would love to show you some illustrations from this book. Here is the rival wolf pack that he encounters. And here is Swift resting. He's recently wounded. He can't do much of anything besides rest. What I know about wolves is they often will establish relationships with ravens. Ravens can often hunt out food and warn wolves of danger, so he has this nice friendship with a raven. And then in the back, there's all kinds of great end matter about wolves. So here's a photograph of the real wolf that the story is based on. And then here is a map of his journey. It starts way up here and goes all the way down here throughout Oregon. And then also it has all kinds of information about the different animals that Swift encounters in the different biomes that he travels through. So you will also learn about all kinds of different animals as well as just wolves and ravens. And again, it's called A Wolf Called Wander.